Introducing
Pretty Girls Love Real Estate. Stories of everyday women breaking barriers and building wealth through real estate.
Let's get it. Boss. BOSS.
Hello. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Pretty Girls Love Real Estate podcast. Thank you for joining us. And our guest for today, I'm super excited to have her on. She definitely has a special place in my heart because she helped me find my first investment property. And she is just a real estate superstar, killing the game in New Jersey. She's helping a lot of other people build wealth. And she's building up a multi-unit portfolio. She's winning awards. She's doing everything. Every time I see her on social media, she's closing a new deal. And when she's not doing that, she's jet setting to some exotic country. So our guest today is Natay Hayes. Hey, Natay, thank you for coming on.
Hi, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So you've been doing so many great things. So let's just start from the beginning. I know you always talk about how you had a 9-to-5, and then you got let go from your job, and then that kind of springboarded your career in real estate. So can you just kind of tell us how you got started?
Yes, certainly. Well, before I do that, I want to say, give it back to you. Definitely, for sure. I'm super proud. I'm so excited, and I'm so happy to see us out here, one Black, two women doing it. So, it was a pleasure assisting you to get your first property, and seeing you to the closing line as well. So
thank you.
To you, and all the best success and luck with your podcast, for sure.
Thank you.
How did I get started? Yeah, that's always a good question, right? And I always kind of start where I bought my first house. It's almost 9 years, really, to the date. I closed on my house somewhere in early June, and I kept going back looking for the closing documents, but for some reason I can't even remember them. I could barely remember closing. And I'm like, that's a very important day in my life. Why I don't remember that closing?
I know, it's like a restaurant that puts their first dollar that they made on the board.
Exactly. I kind of vaguely remember it, but I'm like, I don't remember the date. So I was trying to find the dates I can go back and, kind of post and always kind of document the journey. But I definitely know I closed in early June of 2011. So it's literally been 9 years since I bought my first property. And for me, it kind of started because I'm a lazy worker. I really am. I know y'all see me grounding on social media. I am out there. But when it comes to the 9-to-5 and, kind of getting up and doing that grind, I just knew it was never for me. And so I was always thinking, I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad, probably many of who's listening and tuning in. And it really opened up my eyes to another way. So I was probably 21 at the time, just got out of college, reading this book. And I remember getting up and going to work I'm going to quit my job. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to keep quitting my job. Fine, something that's working, because I'm not going to work for nobody forever. And so I knew very early on that I just wasn't going to be a good worker. And so you walk into work kind of differently, because you just know you're not going to be there forever, right? You come, work starts at 9, you're there at 9:05, ends at 3, you're leaving at 2:58. And so that was the kind of worker that I was, even up to when they fired me. So my idea was to always try to eliminate, as best as I can, the biggest expense we all encounter on a monthly basis, which is rent or mortgage. And when I started to search for properties at that point, he talks about multifamilies in the book, or he talks about wealth through home ownership and having a source of income that's not attached to your job. And so right before I purchased my first home, I'm renting for, I don't even know how long, a couple of years, but I'm paying $1,200 a month. And I recall being able to, once I got my property, save that $1,200. I was making about $2,400 a month, and I'd be able to save at least one of my paychecks, because now I'm living rent free and making $400 to $500 a month to live here. And so in addition to saving that $1,200, making $500, that's $1,700 a month. And I tell people all the time that I was making literally $40,000 a year. And so I'm saving $1,700 a month off a $40,000 year job. And so that's really where it started for me. I was able to, get rid of that big expense, have other people pay for my living expenses, still live very minimal, and increase the amount of residual income, passive and residual income that I'm having on a monthly basis. And that's huge for us when we talk about ownership and kind of getting started in our real estate career, or just real estate period, right? Because now it frees up money and then time. It frees up money so that we can have money to do the things that we really want to do. So hence how I've really been able to travel, and I could take a month off because my lifestyle is paid for. It's more than paid for. It's paid for a very long time. So while I'm not a millionaire, sort of, I'm close maybe. On paper, and I could be doing a lot better. I don't think I am where I ultimately will, or I still have a journey in front of me, right? I'm not necessarily where I want to be, but I'm not where I was financially. So it's still a huge difference, and I'm still able to, again, take those same concepts, like, decreasing my expenses, or at the very minimum, keeping them the same while increasing my asset column, so that my life and my lifestyle continues to be paid for. So just kind of take what works and I duplicate it. And so with that, like you said, I was fired back in 2018, and shortly before 2018, I got my real estate license, and it was never really to to get into the field to allow other people to sell, because I tried it back in like the year 2001, and it didn't work. I didn't make one sale. So I'm like, I'm not going to be successful in real estate this time because I've tried it and I failed. So that's what I thought. But right after I got my license, I really started posting on Instagram as an educational tool. I would do real estate Saturdays, and every month I would post a new topic, and each Saturday I would post a new tip related to that topic. So my whole approach in real estate at that time was really about the educational piece. And then it just kind of boomed from there. I had a ton of friends that started to want to invest based off the things that I was doing, because they saw at that point that I had quit my job, which was 2 years ago. I had, owned 5 properties at that point, and I was doing real estate. I was able to leave my job and do real estate full time. So they saw that, and people kind of want to emulate that lifestyle, which is freedom. Ultimately, we don't want to do what somebody else tells us we need to do and be somewhere at a certain time and take 2 weeks vacation. Why can't we take a month vacation? And so I kind of do take my month vacations and kind of like rebel, because I'm like, oh, I can, so now I'm just going to because I can, right? So that's how I started in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, yeah, I loved how you talk about the real estate Saturdays, which is, she basically just did like quick, like 5-10 minute clips, like on Facebook, Instagram, just sharing a new topic about real estate, or some, tidbit, some question that somebody asked her in her, daily goings on, and just explained it. And I think that added a lot of value. A lot of people kind of feel like real estate is like a little bit of a mystery, especially in our community. And so with that, I would say, what would you say to people that are like, they want to get involved, they want to purchase a house, they want to get an investment property, but they're still on the fence? Like, they have this misconception that they don't have enough money, or they're scared to be a landlord or something like that. What would you say to those people?
Sure. To those people, and I do have people who reach out to me with those same fears. I think what has helped me, and probably them, is that they see me be consistent. They see the individuals that when I'm closing, right, I'm always highlighting the people that I've helped, the people that are starting the same way they're probably starting, or the same way they would be starting before they started, the same way I got started, which is I have no idea what I'm doing. Even when up to the time I got my second home, I didn't even know what I was doing. I'm like, just know it's cheap, just give it to me. and highlighting those same individuals, because we all just naturally have the same fears. We don't know what we don't know, and therefore we're not exactly sure if we should pull the trigger, how we should pull the trigger, what's going to happen. It's kind of like walking into a black hole. You don't know. You're going to fall, and everybody's afraid to fall, and I get it, right? Because home ownership is a big responsibility. It's not something that's necessarily, it's not really taught anywhere. It might be taught, yeah, the information is out there, YouTube, Facebook. You look around, you can find a whole bunch of information on real estate, but the biggest challenge is, like you had mentioned, not exactly knowing how to navigate it, and not really knowing where to start, who to trust, how to connect the dots. And so that's where I come in, because as a first-time home buyer, now an investor, I understood, because that's where I started. So my advice to those individuals that are on the fence is, let's figure out where you are, and kind of get the pre-approval process starting, which is like the first part of the investment process, first part of your home buying process. And let's talk about your finances. It's going to include two things: your finances, and it's going to include your credit. So I'm always having conversations. I don't even go past home ownership, past what kind of homes, past what areas, until we know that you are strong, or strong enough, to soon to be buyer. Let's start there. Let's have those conversations, because even if you're not ready now, at least you have a game plan, and we've already discussed that game plan. So this way you can make that plan, and put actions into place so that you can go ahead and attain that goal. So now you're not just kind of going through it blindly. And so I'm always sort of hand-holding my clients, because again, I realize the importance of needing to know and understand like the process from like A to Z, or at least an overview, so that they're more comfortable. Because like you said as well, the finances, it's going to be so expensive, I can't afford a home, it's not for me. Let's have those conversations. Let me show you how it is possible, because even in this dialogue, I've told you, I made $40,000 a year. I was bringing in $1,200 every 2 weeks. So it is possible. Credits, we've all had issues with credit, right? Mom put this in our name, dad put that in our name, they defaulted. Now our credit is all shot. Oh my God, my credit is 500. All right, let's work on fixing it. Most of us are in very similar economic and socioeconomic backgrounds and positions. So let's start there. And the reason why I started communicating these tips and being so vocal about real estate, even at, the 5 houses that I had, at one point I was very nervous about doing it. I'm like, you know what? I don't have a million houses. I'm not like these big gurus, but a friend had reminded me of, being connected to those who are probably most like me and most in my situation that need me and our information the most. So I approach my clients with that understanding. And so I would tell them, hey, let's just start with the conversation. Conversations never hurt. Let's start there.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because a lot of people, especially in this age of social media, they like to compare themselves to other people. And it's like, you can't, you're just getting started with something. You're not as educated. You've never done it before. You can't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 12. Like you said, a guru, somebody that you've seen with, a bunch of properties, like, I don't know, Grant Cardone or something like that. He's got $1 billion worth of real estate. Like, you can't compare yourself to him if you're just starting out. But I want to go back to one of the things you said about somebody with a misconception of they can't afford a property. A lot of people think that the only way you can buy real estate is if you just go to your regular bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, PNC, whatever, and get a mortgage. But there's a lot of alternative ways to get financing for real estate. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, for sure. There are alternative ways to get financing for real estate. Certainly, there are hard money lenders. It's probably the first thing that money lender, I would say, that comes to mind that people can utilize. They might have heard of them as loan sharks. I would say don't be afraid. They're not necessarily loan sharks. You just need to know, some of the terms that you're getting. You actually need to know all the terms that you're getting, so you can figure out if you're making a smart investment decision. I've used hard money lenders, and they're not all money hungry, but it's a smart way for them to make money on their money by lending out money. They are typically for your shorter term projects. So you definitely want to be in and out of the project in at least 6 months to a year, 18 months max. You don't want to be in a hard money situation for longer than that. Why? Because you're paying interest rates. You're paying interest on that property, I should say. And in addition to that, you're only paying the interest until you pay off the whole principal. There are wholesaling. There's wholesaling, people finding properties that might be off the market that a seller wants to sell, and essentially assigning the contract to a buyer. So when people talk about you don't need any money to get in real estate, that's usually what they're referring to is the wholesaling strategy. There are private money. There's private money that you can, go out there and find yourself. You have friends, people have family. There's people that have 401ks that are looking to loan and make money off their money as opposed to having it sit in the 401k or the bank where they're making like 0.000% one interest on their money. They might lend it to you and you pay them 8%, right? Because now they're winning and it's not sitting in the bank making such low interest. So you can become very creative in finding individuals that are looking to give you money that way.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, like I said, think that there's only one way to get money. And then also a lot of people think that you have to have a lot of money to get involved in real estate. Like from my journey, I've learned that the most important thing is finding a good deal and the money will come to you. I think we also need to get in the mindset of abundance. Like money is probably the least scarce resource when it comes to real estate. There's people that are looking to basically throw money your way if you have a good deal, if you have a good investment vehicle where they can get a good return for their money.
That is a fact. I have my hard money lender. My hard money lender, not to cut you off, he's emailing me like, Natay, do you have any good deals? Like, throw us something. I'm like, okay, I've been sitting, but let me go find something. You want me to spend your money? I have no problem doing so. You're absolutely right.
Definitely. So another thing when it comes to real estate is that you have to have a good team. If you have an investment property, you may or may not want to manage it yourself. If there's some repairs needed, you need a contractor, you need an appraiser, you need somebody to inspect the property. So can you talk a little bit about how you came about finding your team? Because I know you do a lot of fix and flips. I know you do a lot of off-market properties where there needs to be some repair work before you can rent it out. So can you talk about how you found your team you work with?
Yes, sure. And I'm still finding the team. So I would say that especially when you talk about contractors, they are just it's a revolving door, I say. So when you get a good contractor, you stick with them. But for me, it's always about still, being able to find good work all the time. So every time I'm going out to properties, as a real estate agent, as an investor, if I see good work, I'm literally asking that person for their business card. I do that all the time. I just actually found a painter last week and he just went to go paint my girlfriend's house today. And I texted him. I said, you know what? Thanks for going over to paint. I reiterated who I was. I said, I'm a realtor. I'm always referring out business. So if I continue to like you, I'll continue to refer you good business. And I wasn't even expecting it. He said, I'll refer you people that are looking to buy a home. So that was an awesome way to, one hand washes the other. But that's one way. I always find good contractors that way because it's the best way for me to see their work, right? I'm not always having to go out and call them and say, hey, can I see your work? I'm already there physically looking at the type of work that they've done. So provided that they do a good job again, I'll use them again. I have a contractor that somebody referred to me from the gym like 9 years ago, and I use him to this day. He's a little bit on the pricey end. So when people do ask me for referrals, I refer him out, but I advise, hey, he's going to be pricey. But I'm learning this and been in this for a long time. You get what you pay for. So at this point, I'm very comfortable with him. He comes, he does his job, and I don't even hear from him again. And I don't need to call him again because he does it right and he does it right the first time. So I pay extra $200 for a peace of mind because I know it's never going to break again. And I've gone the cheap route and I've used cheaper contractors, if you will. And I just always got to stay on top of them and call them again. Where are you, etc. So how else? My lender, also, he's an investor. I have utilized some of his team members. I think just being in the field at this point, everybody has contractors. Everybody has access to folks that you might be looking for. And I caution people, I refer out, but I say, hey, develop your own relationship with these individuals because just because they did a good job for me, they know me, I have a good relationship. You expect them to do well for you, but when it comes to contractors, they're just not they're just not always that. It's not always going to be the same experience. So I say, hey, I'm going to introduce y'all. You can make your own decision. But if something bad goes, if something goes haywire and something bad happens to your relationship, I don't want that to be on my name. And so that's kind of the issue that I found with contractors. Other than that, developing the team. Speaking of team, I actually continue to use April. She was your referral.
My girl, I'm going to have to get her on the show too.
I'm sure you did. Okay. Yes. So I continue to use her. She has been so awesome. My lender, I found through another referral at the gym. So a lot of these, people that I've made contacts with just really comes from word of mouth. Somebody thinks that they're excellent. And so I've been in the industry for quite some time now. And at this point, you'll hear some repetitive names and I will, look into those individuals because their name's been thrown out 3-4 times. It's having a good reputation. So I think those are probably going to be the stronger people that you can sort of depend on doing a good job because they're out there. Yep.
So how many rental units do you have now?
5.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 units or 5 like individual houses? Because I know
5
you invest a lot in multifamily.
Yes, there are 5 multifamilies.
Okay.
I have 4 3-families and 1 2-family with a bonus. And one of the 3 families has a bonus unit. So I like my bonus units.
Okay, and just to clarify, I don't know if we mentioned it earlier, but Natay is based in Newark, New Jersey, and she, gets properties and does work all throughout Essex County and New Jersey. But I also saw that recently you were looking into doing some deals out of town. So can you just talk a little bit about that experience?
Yes, I am. I'm looking to scale up real life monopoly, as they call it, and looking for bigger, some commercial units, all residential apartment buildings. And I'm looking in Ohio simply because it's just cheap. What I'm finding, even exploring Ohio, is that, and I knew that it was cheap, or cheaper. The rents are low. So the cap rates are a little bit kind of low. The investment strategy is going to be a little bit different, but I'm exploring the 18 unit for like 600,000. So it sounds really, really good. And at this point, the multifamilies are great and I'm still going to continue to do them, but I just want more doors under one roof. I think after a while, that's kind of where my investing needs to take me. So I'm kind of excited. There's not a lot of us faces in the commercial realm either. So that'll be another next step that I can start educating, our folks on. So.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, it's just so much easier to manage when there's multiple units under the same roof, because, that's one roof you got to deal with, one plot of land, one, tax payment. There's so many more logistics when you have properties kind of spread out here and there. So it's just so much easier if you have everything under one roof. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It is easier. And the fact that it's out of state, it'll force me to do property management, because as of right now, you're looking at the property management for all of my units. And for the most part, though, it's been hands off, but because the side of me that wears a real estate hat is super busy between, my clients and then having 15 tenants, it's like, they're calling me for this, calling me for that. And I'm like, just call, the contractor themselves. But that's something that I probably need to change because, I can't be everywhere at everywhere at once. So putting property managers, it should be a necessity, but because I'm here, it's easier, I have access, it's quicker, it saves me money, blah, blah, blah. I'm not really effective though, because I don't necessarily have a system. So, if I can't get to my property and it's 8 hours away, I have somebody there on the ground. And while I'm paying them to do that, it saves me time, right? It's either save yourself money or save yourself time. Ideally, do both.
Yeah, if somebody calls you about their toilet and you're off in South Africa or something.
Exactly. I'm not worried about your toilet. Don't you see me? I'm on the beach.
Exactly. No, that's definitely important. And I know that's one of the things that a lot of people that are hesitant about getting into real estate, they are like, I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to deal with leaky toilets and, just problems with tenants. So it's either you manage it yourself, which is actually, really is not that bad because you, like you said, you have a portfolio, you got 5 different properties and you've been doing it just fine. But also if you want to scale, it just makes more sense to do a property manager because that's their job. That's their responsibility to take care of the property and everything that needs to be done. And then your actual tenants, they don't have to bother you all the time. So
that's it. That's the name of the game. So I'm working on getting a property manager because I'm removing myself out of this piece. At this point, it's the money that I'm saving is not even worth it to me anymore. It's like just spend the
Right.
money, let somebody else deal with the headache. And that's how you get. But at 1, 2, 3, things that are manageable. If I didn't have a bunch of clients on a real estate agent part, then I would probably spend time managing them. Because again, it doesn't take out so much of my time, but collectively with everything else that I have going on, it doesn't even make sense for me to hold on and attempt to manage everything anymore.
Okay, so let's just back up for a second. Let's talk about your city, Newark. Like, it's one of the hottest real estate investment markets in the country right now. Can you just talk to people that might not be familiar, like why it's so hot, why it's so popular, and then what's the state of the market now, especially during this pandemic?
Yes, certainly. So Newark has experienced a tremendous amount of growth. It's probably been on the up since the last recession, being like the 2008 recession. Since I've seen it, it's actually when I bought my first property after that recession period in 2011, where the prices was, I mean, my building at that point was going for $500,000. The whole entire block was losing them at $220,000. So that's how much I bought my house for. At this point, I owe $180,000, and it's worth what it was worth back then. It's worth $550,000 right now. So that's huge. I don't necessarily see, because of the pandemic, the property values going down. In fact, they're still hanging on very strong. It's summertime. Summer is a huge market for the real estate. And while it slowed down buyers in a sense, it's slowing down showings in a sense because, some tenants are fearful of COVID. People are still putting in offers sight unseen. Why? Our proximity to New York City, the rest of the developments that been going on, really around the major train stations, coming down to as far maybe south as Jersey City, the next big major probably urban area that is reflective of the New York City prices. It's still not that high, but my same 3-family here could be easily $1 million in Jersey City. And I'm 15 minutes, not even, from Jersey City prices. So I see a lot of my clients coming from the New York City area looking to invest over here, and that is definitely driving up the prices. The downtown area, having a strong downtown, buildings, they have a ton of new developments, new constructions going on right down there in City Hall. The mayor's doing an excellent job bringing in businesses and the needed population to be able to continue to support the downtown area with new businesses and new restaurants and bars and, different activities that would keep the residents spending their money in Newark. So we have been experiencing tremendous growth. Even with that, there are other areas that are outside of Newark that are slowly also, or maybe not even slowly, quickly seeing that growth as well, because since it's been a seller's market, the demand has been very high. The pool has been very low. The supply has been very low. So you're experiencing those similar spillovers in your next urban cities, which is East Orange and Irvington. Irvington prices are creeping up there. I just sold a three-family that we have under contract right now. I didn't sell it, but it's under contract for $420,000. That mirrors Newark very closely, whereas Irvington has always probably been at least $50,000 to $100,000 cheaper on average for your 3-family home. So you're seeing that spillover.
Okay. See, she's very knowledgeable, y'all. She's dropping numbers, giving you gems on if you can't invest in Newark, what's the next hot area to get involved in.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, it's a good segue because besides, helping your clients as a realtor, like finding their actual investment property, one of the things that you do also is you do personal mentoring and coaching for people that want to learn. So can you talk more about that?
I sure can. That sort of stemmed from everyone asking me, how do I learn and get started as you've done, but I'm not necessarily ready to purchase a house. And it's also stemmed from just the education tips. I'm like a 360-degree realtor. And again, before I was a realtor, I was investing first. My real estate license, just like I mentioned, was there to help me. I never really had it in me to go out and sell any homes, but now I do it because I realize that the knowledge is there and people continue to reach out. So for those who may not necessarily be ready to purchase a home and they're like, hey, you know what? I just want to learn. I've been on YouTube. I'm on Bigger Pockets. I'm on a bunch of webinars and podcasts, and I want the information and I hear the information. I just don't know what steps to take. And it's a lot to digest. And so they'll come to me, and again, I'll post, exactly what I'm doing with my students on social media, Instagram, Facebook, showing exactly where we're going. So it's always individuals that have that same starting place. I don't know where I want to start. Can you give me, can you walk me through this? So my mentoring program consists of a 3-week, a 4-week, or a 6-week program. And for twice a week, for a half hour, we'll talk. We'll walk through deals. I'll give them language. We'll talk about the numbers. We'll talk about really the basics of real estate that could be applied to anywhere in the world when it comes to real estate. How to analyze deals, what's important terms that you need to know. So really how to duplicate, the knowledge of real estate, because it's like once you know those basic concepts, you just continue to build off of those. I understand that it's important that they get hands-on experience. So we're walking through houses, like they're literally coming out with me. Most of them are in New York, New Jersey. They're relatively close. So they'll come out with me. We'll walk through the homes. We'll analyze them. I'll have contractors there. I might have a wholesaler there. We'll always, so I bring them into my world, into my experience, so that they can see exactly what goes on a daily basis. So that's been my mentorship program. Again, it's been very personalized. I take students, sort of as they reach out to me. It's not something that I promote because I'm the real estate agent, I'm the realtor, I'm doing a million things. So once been taking some time with COVID to actually sit down and box this stuff up so that I can, produce more and reach more people. Because at this point in time, I'm reaching as many people as my time allows me to, which is great, and I don't regret it. But I realize that there's probably a bigger need for my services based off the individuals that continue to reach out to me.
Absolutely, girl. We got to get you set up with a nice online platform so you can reach the masses. We need your information to be shared with everybody, because I like that you really, like you said, you focus down on the numbers and analyzing deals and teaching people the language of real estate, because it's not taught in school. It's not something that's just common knowledge to people. So that's really important.
For sure.
So cool. We're going to be coming soon with the online course. That's what's up.
Stay tuned.
Okay, cool. So we're going to wrap it up here. The last segment that I like to do with every guest is called the Fabulous Four, which is 4 different questions, really quick. So just, whatever comes top of mind, just answer straight from the heart. So the first question is, what is your favorite book about real estate?
It's going to be Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it's not just about real estate specifically. He touches on everything, but I really love that book. And I'm sure everybody said the same thing, and it's probably very repetitive, but I use that book to even share with my family. So that's another thing you've probably seen me doing on Facebook, social media, Instagram. Every time my cousins, and I have a lot of cousins, they'll always come ask me, can I get started in real estate? Can I work with you? Do you need any help during COVID? I need to make money. All right, cool. You need to make money? Read this book. So my cousins, as young as 16 years old, we're going through each chapter and we're discussing it, because my family's not going to just come work for me and work for money and not understand how money works, because that is a major mistake of ours. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's so simple, it's so basic, it's so repetitive that I can have a 16-year-old read it. We can walk through it, talk about it, and digest it. So I'm going to have to say Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
I love it, because that's like one of my top 2 or 3 books as well. And that was definitely probably the book that changed the game for me, really got me interested and really opened my eyes to what was possible with real estate. And I read that when I was like 28, 29 years old. So the fact that, you're sharing it with your family, they're teenagers, like that's really going to be able to change their mindset and uplift them to, so many possibilities. So that's definitely what's up. All right. So the number 2 question is, what advice would you give to yourself, knowing what you know now, when you first got started? What advice would you give yourself?
Start sooner. Start earlier. I definitely would have started sooner. I was 28 when I bought my first property, and 28 is not a bad age, but I wish I would have started sooner, and I wish I would have probably saved my money, because I tell people all the time, my only regret is not literally buying this whole block. I would be, I'd be very well off, and I probably would never have to work another job a day in my life. I'd probably be retired. And I literally bought like this, probably 8 or 9 homes on my block. If I would have bought 9 homes and I owe 180 and they're all worth $500,000, you could do the math. I'd be very well to do. So I would definitely say start sooner.
Well, I think it's definitely, due to this pandemic situation, it's going to be more of a lag effect. It's not going to be immediate, but it's going to be an opportunity to get some things on discount. So for everybody out there, just, get your money right, get everything ready. So when the opportunity arises, you can take advantage of it.
Be prepared. Exactly.
So, all right, cool. So the next question is, what topic are you personally that you want to learn more about in real estate?
I'm looking to definitely get more involved in the commercial aspect of things. I have an idea, haven't managed the residential side of it. I'm sure, or the smaller residential parts of it, I'm sure I'm not going to have too much of an issue. But to be very honest, it is a little overwhelming. I feel like maybe I'm in my client's shoes where they're like, I want to kind of start with the 2 family. I'm like, why you don't want to do a 4? It's the same amount of work. And so I find myself having the same conversation. I'm like, I kind of want to start with an 18. They're like, why you don't want to do 70? I'm like, I don't know. 70 just kind of sounds intimidating. So definitely trying to work through that fear of the unknown and stepping into such, maybe a huge building. At first I was like 6 to 8. Now I'm exploring like 18, 20 units. So I want to be comfortable because I like duplication and I like what works for me. And it's really been the passive and residual. It's been buy and hold them to hold on to the properties for a couple of years, be able to cash out, a couple of 6-figure checks. And I want to do the same thing with my commercial investments.
Amen. Like a lot of people I know that are heavily involved in commercial, they'll say like you said, there's no point in going 6 to 8. You might as well jump to at least 20, 30. If you're going to go into commercial, go all the way.
Right.
So, and then I think it's like you were saying, it's just like residential, the same type of, analysis that you do is just on a larger scale. But I think with commercial, it's different because there's a lot of different due diligence that you have to do that's not the same for residential. So it's definitely its own beast, but I know you're going to kill it. So
correct. That too. And finding the money.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
Well, like we said, you find a deal, the money will come to you.
There you go.
All right. The last question is, can you name or give a shout out to one other woman that's doing something amazing right now in real estate?
Oh, one? That's so tough. I'm going to say 2 because they might both be listening and I love them equally and dearly.
All right. No, 2 is better than 1.
I'm going to shout out Renee Stewart and Lordiana St. Louis. And I want to shout them out because both of these women came to me as mentors. They both said, hey, Natay, I love what you're doing. And they were very close to the family. Renee is my sister's best friend. Lordy is my sister's friend's girlfriend, now fiance. Now they're married, and they're both, Lordy and Renee were like, I want to learn what you're doing. So Renee started out working for me, basically doing a lot of my scheduling my appointments. I had her do all my real estate contracts. She's having conversations with attorneys. Up until last year, Renee was looking to purchase her own deal. Unfortunately, that deal fell through, but they're really taking the steps and to put things in motion. So going from what we learned to, action. And then Lordy, same thing. She reached out to me. I mentored her for a couple of months. She purchased one of my rehabs that I did with Ben. So that was a major experience. And now, she's buying a vending machine. Both Renee and Lordy are also on social media, also teaching others the same way that I got started and the same way that they got started with me. So that's super powerful because Natay is one person could only reach, maybe X amount of people. But then now I'm duplicating myself right now. So now I have three of me or two of me essentially going out there and doing the same thing that I'm doing, teaching other women, teaching other, even men, people of color, Black folks in our communities, educating them because they learn from me and they've learned, the language and the movement and exactly how I teach. So now they're out there teaching their friends and their families. And I'm so proud and I'm so honored that they chose me to be their mentor. So now that I see them out there giving back the same way that I've kind of given to them, I think it's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Shout out to Renee. She was definitely a key piece of the team when you all were helping me find my property. So definitely shout out to her. I'm glad that everything is still going well and she's progressing. And for Lordy, I know if she's been under your tutelage, she's going to be a beast as well. So shout out to both of them. Thank you for that. All right. So lastly, if people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you? How can they contact you?
Sure. I'm on both Facebook and Instagram. First name, last name, Natay Hayes. That's Natay. Last name, Hayes.
Okay, cool. And do you have anything else coming up that you want to share?
We have on, I want to say Thursday, June 11th, we're going to have a virtual first-time home buying seminar for women only, our Invest Like a Girl series. And we'll actually be having those once a month. And it's going to be, sometimes we'll change it. It'll be open for women. Sometimes it'll be men. It'll be sort of different demographics that we're going to reach. So they can definitely stay tuned for our virtual webinar where I'll, again, be sharing a lot of the tips that we shared here. I'll be going to more in depth. I talk about my first property. We talk about the numbers. We talk about sort of where to get started, talk about, who you have on your team, the contracts, everything you kind of need to know. The questions that most first-time home buyers probably have is what we're going to answer on that webinar.
All right, awesome. We're definitely going to share the link so people can sign up for that. We'll put it in the comments and we'll put it in the description for this episode so people can find out and, participate in that because it's definitely going to be educational. Like if you learn from Natay, you'll be in good hands for sure. So definitely check that out. All right, girl. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm sure everybody found value. I learned something. So I'm just happy that you were able to take out some time for us. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jessica, again for having me. Thank you.
No problem, girl. Stay safe out here. Keep killing it. Keep doing your thing. I'm, always paying attention to your journey. So keep doing your thing, girl.
I appreciate it. And same to you. Same to you.